Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Turf Today podcast. All right, here we are, episode 52. We're back with John Reilly, the director of agronomy down at Longboat Key Club, which is in Florida. This is a great chat. We get into a lot of different things. Nothing else really to say. I'm going to throw it down to Brian. We are just waking up here.
Morning.
Bright and early.
Bright and early. Got the sun out, huh?
Yeah, we're making it happen today. I like this. I got the coffee
Yeah.
instead of a beer. It's nice.
It is a great thing, isn't it? I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I can only have one coffee every morning too, so I figured I'd save myself for the pod.
I like it. There he is.
John, welcome.
What's up, Adam?
Not too much. Good to finally meet you. Happy to have you on today.
Happy to be here.
Got your lunch in front of you. You got a good 5-6 hours under your belt already at 8 a.m. this morning?
I got a little Joe.
Nice.
I got some different hats to turn on.
Oh, I was gonna say, let me see the shirt. What do you got on the shirt?
I got the Mink, John Gosling. How about
Okay.
you? What do you
I'm about ready to jump in a car after we record this and head straight up to Caves Valley. So I figured I'd wear their
Nice.
stuff when I'm on site. So try and do that as much as possible.
Adam, what do you got?
I'm just wearing a little bar stool stuff today, actually.
There you
Little
go.
bar stool, little grass clippings, for the boys.
Yeah.
Hey, Grassy,
Yeah.
my friend.
Yes. So those that aren't familiar with John, John is notoriously, as I like to say, Mr. Top 100. Every time I see you, whether you posting a picture on Twitter or I see you in person, you're always wearing some sort of top 100 gear, whether it's a belt, shirt,
So
hat, whatever.
I have to say, I brought a couple of extras. Just I know this is kind of Paul Hairsty. I went with Tobacco Road.
Okay.
Ooh, there you go.
Solid. That's a solid one.
To the best pound guy, Matt DeMason outfits.
Ooh. What
I might
about?
do a little changing.
Okay. I like it.
It's a little steal of the little stick. It's not really my stick.
Yeah. Good. So John, so again, for those not familiar, maybe new to the Superintendent Network, John, you weren't my first visit, but you were my first episode ever put out there with the Superintendent Network, and you got everything going. So ever since then, you and I, you have been very special to me, not just because of that episode, because you're an amazing, amazing person, and I love chatting with you. So just so grateful that you're here and joining us for the pod. And I've got so much that I want to talk to you about. So hopefully you've got a little bit of time.
We do.
Outstanding. So I want to jump in when you reached out to me here just over the weekend. I think you talked about superintendents diversifying and monetizing and not feeling bad about it. What on earth are you talking about, John?
I once you then said, "Hey, we can do this," I was like, "Ooh, I better think about what I was saying." But
You jot
for
some
me,
notes down?
it's been a long process. It didn't just happen, So I can remember 25 years ago, there was a soil sample. My background's in soil structure and biology and kind of growing the grass from the bottom up, which I don't do a lot of now. But so it was a company called it was based out of Florentine, and the local guy in Florida, and so they had gotten into this thing called the Analink. So because I was into base saturation, I was into a lot of the soil chemistry. I tried to marry helping other guys see this. It was almost an AI, pre-AI kind of. You gave them your soil and it spit out this long document, and it was really in depth. And so you really kind of had to have a lot of soil background. So I started to diversify back then, and it wasn't received. So I actually left being a superintendent because I really believed in this, and I felt like if you understood how to balance your soil, then you would have plant health. And I went out and tried to sell it, and because it didn't muddy the water, I was a salesperson for this soil program, and I really it wasn't true to who I was. So I ended up spraying a lot of people's chemicals and went back to being a superintendent. So, and I've tried this a few other times. I tried to get involved with the same guy when he passed away and his wife was running the business and keep my job. And it was seen as kind of a conflict of interest internally with the sales staff that, I was a golf course superintendent and I was trying to help them market green sprays and fertility sprays. So I've had some fits and starts, and for the last 6 years, I've been trying to buy a popular sand injection franchise, which was north of where I do my business. And it didn't really work out, but eventually this year I partnered up with some people and kind of basically bought the competitor, and we have the whole state of Florida. And it's something again that I really believe in. And I did my first, at the golf course superintendent events, there's tents and people are at tees. So I'd never really experienced that where you stood at the tee all day long. And a lot of times in these events, a lot of people are vendors. So the first 6, 7 groups were vendors. And there was this thing, oh, you're moonlighting, you're double dipping, you're doing all this stuff. That was their interpretation of what I was trying to promote at this. It was a pretty big event in Florida called the Envirotron. So it just struck me the wrong way. Like, if you're a golf course superintendent, if you go back to the second example, a lot of times people that are selling fertility used to be golf course superintendents. And I would ask the question, wouldn't you rather be interested in seeing what a person who does what we do on a daily basis uses and promotes it? And in our industry, that's kind of looked at as, crossing the line. But it's okay for somebody who used to be a superintendent 3 days ago, but now they're selling that same product. So it just seemed a little incongruent. And the one that really stuck with me that kind of drove this was a sand company. And they're all good guys I've known for 35 years. And they basically were saying, no, now you're moonlighting, And I thought about it. In one of our first jobs, I realized we're putting sand in people's root zone instead of them core aerifying. And that's really what most people do. They take a core out. And these greens are 2 years old, and the organic matter is only this much. But if you take an aerification core, you're basically taking 4 inches of a plug and you're pulling that out. Well, 2 of those inches, you're returning that sand. So you're basically buying it twice from these guys that are telling me that I'm the guy out there double dipping, So that's what was the genesis of saying, my buddy Brian has a podcast. It's hooked up with Adam. So let me chat about this and not feel golf's booming, right? And if you look at the Masters, I heard some crazy number in a 10-day period, they generate $1 billion for the industry around that area, $1 billion. And they do it every year, right? And it starts with the golf course. None of that happens without the golf course. So I don't think as a superintendent, we should feel bad when we're looking at diversifying. I mean, people who are successful all over the world are successful in business because they're able to adapt, change, do different things, see different sources of revenue. So I think for a long time, and maybe I'm all wet about it, but superintendents doing it is something that we kind of do as a hush-hush thing. I mean, I've consulted for a long time. It's not like I'm paying my bills from it. A lot of times I'm in a situation where somebody wants something for nothing. And if I say, hey, I have this knowledge, I'd like you to pay for it, I have to feel bad. In a long, drawn-out way, that's my spiel.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Do you think most of that heat is coming from the, I guess, lack of a better term, the sales side of it and people on that side, or from superintendents? Where are you feeling most heat from?
I think it's a little bit of both. Yeah.
Why do you think it's them feeling maybe you're taking advantage of connections or anything like that? I mean, like you said, a lot of people end up going from the superintendent side into the representative side of it, and so there's still the relationships, there's still all of that they're utilizing. So, I mean, what do you think it is? What do you think it is that they're upset about?
I think about it a lot. So you think about, like I said, the unwritten rules in baseball, right? You don't try to bunt on a no hitter. So there's these things that people, I think, kind of say, well, you're a golf course superintendent, so that's your gig. And if you step outside of that while you're still doing that, there's a conflict of interest. And I can see some of that, but what's the difference between me going to Napa and putting something on, my credit card and then getting reimbursed at work? And, it's still a transaction between work and myself. And we don't look at that as a bad thing. So I think change too for an industry that is so adaptive. It's amazing that sometimes it seems closed-minded, even myself. I'm certainly guilty of that. One of the things, if anything, about me is I change constantly. And I'm okay with it.
Would any of that pushback be from the membership at all? I know, like, just the picture of a superintendent at a private golf course, you don't really want to see that man or woman doing anything else because they have so much to do and only so much time. So is any of that pushback maybe from the golf course itself, and like this person shouldn't have another job or shouldn't be doing something else, even though in society now you see a lot of people that are double dipping, that are working two jobs, that are trying to have two different incomes. So things just might be changing, but I could see at a bit of a, private course, maybe that's where some of that's coming from.
Yeah, that's a great point, because this place sits in between two bodies of water, the Gulf of Mexico and the Sarasota Bay, right? Which is all the Gulf of Mexico. So I maintained for the last 15 years property right on salt water and now, I go right across the street to the biggest condo that's on the Gulf of Mexico, and I tell them how to use paspalum grass. They're all my members. And there is a little undercurrent of that, but I kind of plow through that. I don't like this afternoon at 2:30. I've got a meeting with the condo association that I've been helping put in St. Augustine, which is in the grass that I take care of, but that's what they chose for their lawns. And so I'm meeting with the landscape company, and I'm meeting with the homeowners association. So when the landscape company doesn't like what I might have to say, or if a certain homeowner, yeah, that's happened to me a bunch here. And again, I sort of stand right into it and lean into it and say, yep. And yes, I should get paid for that. I mean, I don't think if, you had a corn on your toe and you went to a guy who's a foot doctor here, he's going to do it for free because we're members and I come to the superintendent. So I feel bad sometimes because we kind of feel like we have to say that all the time. But I think I'm at a point, because how long I've done it, that I'm over that. I don't get too caught up in it. But you're dead nuts on that. That happens all the time. I play a lot of golf with the members as well, and so someone will come up and say, "Hey, I hear you're working with Biscaya," and I say, "Yeah, it's a great opportunity." And one of the things that I'm really big in is automated mowing and what that can do for the whole island. So now, with none of that, I'm getting any money for. I'm just promoting it to the property that may use whatever grass change that they are using because of me. And I think they're getting a better product. Yeah, I've never had my company say anything, but there has been some sort of side remarks. I definitely see.
At the end of the day, it's nothing new. I mean, there are several of the most recognizable superintendents, over time that I know have served as consultants or have taken on lead roles with various companies and promoted that and all that. So it's nothing new. So it's interesting that there's a little bit of that blowback. And again, I mean, like you just said, you're the expert, right? You're the expert at what you do. I mean, I know you go around and you consult and talk to people about paspalum because you are the paspalum whisperer. So, what's the harm in using your expertise and monetizing it? So, I mean, it's no different than any other industry. But you mentioned a little bit ago about how your thoughts have changed. And I think some of your thoughts have even changed since I first met you 2 years ago. Talk about your evolution of, I guess, your perspective on greenskeeping and your priorities and some of your fundamental thoughts on taking care of your surfaces.
I think the best image for me whenever I talk to people sometimes is it's like an onion, and I just keep peeling that onion back. There's another layer and another layer, and it's a reductionism in the way that I've done it in the past. And sometimes and the most glaring thing recently is sand. I use the GS3 ball every day, and I'm committed to smooth and true and obtaining a certain firmness and not really worrying about speed, because I don't think that's a measure of speed. And sand, the numbers don't support sanding on a weekly basis. I was the guy that if you stood on the green, I would have put core aerification holes in your shoes and then filled them with sand if you stayed out there on the putting greens. And that's who I was. And to be a person now that doesn't aerify for 10 years, and now, we're 142 days into growing season, or when we started, and we haven't put a speck of sand on top as a top dresser. And that just wasn't who I was 6 months ago, so those are big things that impact the player, that impact the guys who work for me and the ladies who work for me, and the people who have to take care of the reels that come in after they've been ate up with sand. So that's just a little small level of the fact that we don't put the amount of nitrogen down. We don't put the inputs that we used to. We don't use the fungicides that we used to. I got a little note from somebody on a fungicide that we tried, and I'm at a point where I have to say, well, I better say something because I'm who I think I am, and but really I wanted to say, you know what? I don't use that fungicide. I tried it for the trial. It worked out, but if I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, I'm only using that in very small cases. It's interesting. And I could go miles back. How much? I haven't done a soil sample. And the last soil sample I did was for a friend. And that's where I came from, soil science. That's my background. And
I was going to say, that's crazy to hear.
I don't get paid for that. I get paid for what's going on at the top. And we have good enough information to measure that now and to impact it and to make measured decisions about it.
You mentioned the GS3. I mean, do you have our friends from the USGA on speed dial? I know you're we
have a good relationship, but it's a little sartorial at times because I feel like, they missed an opportunity this week to talk about that and to shift the conversation away from speed. And this week, speed and grain, I can show you pictures where we have light and dark all over our greens, but it's not impacting the putt. I can tell you that. So it might be a way you read a line, but it's definitely not changing the impetus of the ball. We manage turf at such a low level. Green is a minimal. It shouldn't have gotten 17 hours of coverage. Could have been a great time for us to say, look at how these folks are managing the water and look at these numbers. And no one knows the numbers anyway. That's my talk with the USGA. But no one really has any information. So why is it so dangerous to put a number out there and start the conversation about smooth, true, and firm? And I mean, you got a $5 Nassau, me and you, and I know the greens are true, then I don't have to get all bent out of shape about the breaking a putt. Just hit it firm at the line and be comfortable. You'll make more putts, and people are happier when they make more putts.
Well, we've talked about the ball a little bit here on the show. Would you mind just telling everybody about the ball a little bit and maybe some of the improvements you've seen and maybe some things that we're going to see over the next few years with it?
It's a ball that has sensors. It's a sphere that's very similar to a golf ball. It's certainly way lighter, but it performs rolling off the stint meter or in a firmness tool. It gives us instant data, through the web. It allows us to not only calculate firmness and speed, but a trueness number and a smoothness number. And the trueness is basically how little the ball oscillates, and smoothness is how little the ball goes up and down over time over the roll. And I think that's the issue with the launch, the way people use it. Like I have a business, right? So yesterday I'm on the East Coast of Florida. I'm at a private club, and then I'm at a daily feed club, and I showed them the ball. And the USGA is great. They give me every golf course. It's not really the way it's supposed to be. You get your own ball and your own golf course, and you can share that information any way you want. No one can see it. But for my purposes and helping them get the message out, I can use somebody's place for a day or whatever the case would be. And the general manager, the light that went off in this guy's head that was thinking about not core aerifying, he was going to inject sand, which is our business. I showed him the ball and he just was all in, So some people have that response, and a lot of people, just like we talked about early in the show, for a business that's always adapting and changing, there's a lot of people that think it might be a little more hocus pocus than it is a valuable tool. They don't really want to share information. Or if they told you how unsmooth and how untrue the greens may be at some high-end facility, that would bring the whole building down, which I don't quite understand. So we're just in the early stages. So I'm big on transparency. And I think it moves the discussion away from green speed, which that stint meter never was. It's a measure of how far the ball rolls off a 3-foot hunk of metal. That's all it is. There's no time variable in there, so there's no speed. But that's so misunderstood as it is. I can remember last year, one of the greatest putters in the world in his time, Brad Faxon, was telling people that the greens at LA Country Club were rolling 13 miles an hour. That isn't true. It rolled 13 feet off a stint meter. So even the best players don't really get it and can't really see the difference. But that last 3 feet, if you know that you're true and you're smooth, then you can trust your line and make a putt. And that's what golf is. And we can take that out to the fairways, the landing areas. I mean, the sky's the limit with this, I think.
So you're a director of agronomy, and you're running a sand company, and you're also a USGA consultant now. So you're a pretty busy man, John.
I tried to pitch them on that, but they didn't go for it.
They didn't bite?
Well, again, I think that this whole philosophy that I have is that while I'm doing this, I think it gives me more skin in the game when I'm doing something else.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not only the owner of Hair Club for Men, I am. I gotta get a hat change going.
There we go. There you go.
The best paspalum grower in the industry.
Well, I'll give a phone call to Kenny out there, and we'll see if we can put in a word for you. So talking about paspalum, you mentioned, you got through the Abaco hat on there, the best paspalum. I mean, you, like I joked about earlier, become the paspalum whisperer. Talk about your history with that variety, what you're learning, and how you're helping other people with it.
Didn't want anything to do with it. Came here to Longboat, and they had started patching some of their Bermuda grass. I was a Bermuda grass grower, grew up in the Northeast. I'm a big greens performance guy just from when I was a small kid. So it's always been my calling card. And I just never felt like paspalum would be a good greens grass. And that's just because that's what I heard. When I went to see it at other places, that's what I saw. The reality is there's 16,000 parts per million salt in our irrigation water here. Bermuda grass doesn't live here very well all year round. So paspalum was our answer. And then the task was to figure out how to make it a good green surface. And I think we've done that in spades. It's taken a lot of time, a lot of effort. a lot of gray hair, but I think we're at a point now where we can my saying is, call me from the Ringling Bridge, which is like 2.5 miles from here, and tell me I need a tea time. I just think we'll be really good. I think there's some of the best greens you're going to play. And one of the running jokes here that as we were getting better with it was that people would come and high-end people or pros would play here, or whatever the case would be. And they would always come off and say, these are the best Pascal greens I've ever played. And that used to really irk me, Like no one comes out and says, these are the best Poa Bank greens that I've ever played, or these are the best L93 greens, or these are the best A1 greens, or this is the best champion Bermuda grass ever, But for some reason, people always put that moniker on Pascal greens. And we don't hear that much anymore. And my other kind of arc on this grass is that it's a freshwater grass that's salt tolerant. So water isn't getting any better. And I think in this environment, I'd love to see it in places like Orlando where they overseed. They could use this grass 12 months a year. They don't have to have bad water, and they can have great surfaces. And I think the first person who dives in on that is really going to move the needle. So that's kind of something that I, whenever I get a chance, I try to promote. I did a driving range in Central Florida. That was Pascal, and they flipped the course and they went to Bermuda. So we've had some close calls with it, but I think the first person who does it somewhere where overseed is a big part of the market is going to be able to not be watering their greens, not be trying to get overseed up, not be, the customers that play on these shoulder sides of overseed don't always have the best experience. So I think Pascal would be a really good answer. There's seeded varieties. I consult at a course that John Daly plays a lot at, but it's just a small course next to Clearwater Beach. And they have Pascal greens. And now they have some of the best greens in the area because it's a grass that doesn't need a lot of inputs. It's a grass that can get mowed really low. If you gravel roller, you can change bumpy 8.5 to 12 smooth, and not a lot of work and not a lot of cash. So the upfront cost is substantial because it's hard to produce. But after that, I think it's a low input, high reward grass for people that don't have a ton.
I wanted to ask you about, you were mentioning autonomous mowing earlier. That's something that's definitely coming up in our industry, and we don't really know where it's going to go. I saw something on your Twitter that I think is phenomenal. The Roomba on the driving range. It's like an autonomous ball picker, basically. That's something that should have been done a while ago. I think they finally nailed it.
Yeah, we bought 2 of them. We have an interesting driving range that just has targets. We got $500,000 from the state of Florida to renovate our irrigation system a few years ago. And one of the parts of the grant was to remove irrigated turf. So I took a 12.5 acre range, and we have, 1.5 acres of turf out there where the targets are. So it's a shell-based floor, and it's tough on a normal cart-driven ball picker and the sand. So we started there, and we have 2 of them. They work great. So.
It's a perfect segue. I was actually going to just ask you about your driving range and how that's all working out. Number one, how on earth did you find the grant? Basically the state of Florida paid for your driving range renovation and nice.
They paid for our irrigation renovation.
I was going to say, and a nice chunkier irrigation renovation. How did you go about finding that grant? And
actually, the both the competitors in irrigation brought it to me, and I said, "Forget it. This isn't going to happen." And I remember it was right pre-COVID that we did the application, and there was a subcommittee locally. So in Florida, they have a water management district for. It's not every county. They sort of break the state up. And so ours is the Southwest Florida Water Management. and they have grant money. And I mean, we're talking about millions of dollars they have to save water, and people don't know about it. And one of the good things that happened for Longboat is we're a well-driven irrigation. It's an 8-mile island, so we don't have reclaimed water pipe here. So we're not using reclaimed water. So we're using the aquifer water. So they're always looking for ways to change that. And it was an arduous process, thanks to, my administrative assistant, Rebecca. I mean, listen, I love working. I love being out there. You put something paperwork in front of me, you might as well forget it. So I remember being up against it, and we cobbled it all together, got to a local subcommittee. And I remember this guy going, wait a minute, we're going to give $500,000 to the Longboat Key Club, a private golf course with maybe the highest, per capita income per zip code. And there were 4 other people that said that didn't know that much about maybe Longboat or whatever, but they were really doing their job, which was, it wasn't about the rich people that live here. It was about saving water, and we had been showing them that we were saving water to begin with. So we got through that, and then everything went to Skype. I don't even think Skype exists, right? So there wasn't, like, we weren't in the room. It wasn't visual anymore. And we went right through and got it done, and we got approved. And reduced irrigation surfaces, upgraded to 2-wire system. I mean, soup to nuts, and we obviously had to pay half. It was a cooperative, and they paid. So it was something that we had a good enough product that always got put on the back burner here. We had hydraulic irrigation. If anybody that does what we do knows, that's kind of a tough situation. So it just was the perfect storm. It wasn't something, again, I didn't want to do it. I didn't want any part of it. And it turned out to be something that turned out great for us. And people, you go out to the range and you see 85% shell and all these targets. It's not the most popular thing, but when you sit down and talk to people about the fact that we save 33% of our well water in perpetuity, I mean, it's that conversation doesn't last though, because they can't see their ball hit the same. So there's enough targets out there that you can see. I mean, we changed the yellow ball, so now we got picker robot boy out there, and so it continues to progress. And I'm surprised it's not a bigger story here, but it's just one of those.
Did your range ball budget have to be increased with those golf balls hitting shells?
My golf pro hopefully will never see this, but he spends the most money on range balls I've ever seen. To the right of the range is this like wetland area, and since he and I have both been here for 15 years, I don't know if there's any water left in that wetland area. It's covered up with, what is this? He's a Callaway guy. He gets to go to all the Callaway trips. I don't think it's because he sells clubs. He tells you that's it. I think it's because he buys golf.
Well, it's really cool getting to talk to you here, John. It sounds like a lot of different aspects of your turf game you're kind of changing up, and some things that people will probably start adapting to in the next little while here. So it's always cool learning new things and getting to talk to people about their ideas and things that they've changed. I would love for you to go back a little bit and tell us about kind of how you got into the industry, and maybe explain to us where the nickname Turf Monkey Boy came from.
Sure. Turf Monkey Boy is a quick one. I am an old guy. Yesterday was my birthday. It's my last year in the 50s.
Happy belated.
Happy
Attaboy.
birthday.
And I went out to San Diego for a Golf Course Superintendents Association national meeting, and I took a class with a bunch of assistants, and it was about resume writing and that kind of stuff, but it was also about, as old guys say, the intranet. It had all these like back when all Twitter was pretty well up there. I forget what all the they're not not a lot of them are in the marketplace anymore. But
Back when Skype was big.
yeah, all those types of things. Instagram was just getting started.
Did you have a
So
MySpace
I was
account,
going
John?
to. What's that?
Did you have a MySpace account? I did.
No,
Okay.
I did do what's the one? LinkedIn. I don't know how to get in it. And that's how the Turf Monkey Boy became. I came home and I used to work at a golf course. The guy would come up and say, "Hey, let me teach you this. Any monkey can do this." So we had called ourselves Turf Monkeys. And I wrote a Turf Monkey account. I put in a couple of posts. No one liked them. And I just kind of gave up on it. And then I had something to say, and I said, I'm going to put this on Twitter, and I couldn't get in my account. And I wasn't smart enough to know if I could just change my password. So I made Turf Monkey Boy, and that one went through. So that was my account moving forward. As far as the industry, a blue collar kid from the outside Philadelphia. My brothers and my dad were all caddies, three of them, and I tried the caddy route. And back then, to get into caddying, you had to shag balls. So you had to stand 110 yards away from some ginned up mobster who was sculling balls at you, and you had a little bag to catch them. And I said, forget this. And I was kind of the black sheep of the family. I was always a problem. So I gravitated to the guys who were in the woods doing what they weren't supposed to be doing, and they ran golf course meets. So I grew up right near this great William Flynn golf course, Rolling Green. And I talked Armin Sooney into hiring me when I was 13 years old. And I told him that I could drive a stick shift, which I couldn't. And I ended up putting more machines in the creek and all the other things that. But they stuck with me, and I did it through high school, college, graduate school, even in a different career. And when I had a chance to change directions in life, I went back to school. I went right back to being a maintenance guy because I wanted to make sure that it was always something that spoke to me. So I needed to make sure that that was true, not being in charge versus, the guy with the weed eater. And I just loved it. And so I went to Rutgers when I had already had, a whole nother kind of background in college, and took a job in 1999 at Innisbrook, at the Copperhead course. And 25 years later, I'm kind of at a multi-facility place called Longboat Key. And it was a pretty good transition for me, and I think most of the places that I worked, I got to do a lot of grow-ins and a lot of renovations. I worked for Crenshaw. I'm working with Toby Cobb here. We're doing 3 new greens. Toby had a lot to do with Pinehurst. So it's been a good ride. I've been all over the world thanks to golf. I know all kinds of people like BL there thanks to golf. And now you, Adam. So just enjoying the heck out of it from start to finish.
Golf is.
Yeah, golf is.
I love it. So while we're talking about some history and backstory, you okay talking about some personal stuff, John?
Sure.
When we were riding around, when I was fortunate enough to visit with you, one of the things that sticks out in my mind is you reflected a lot on maybe some bridges that were potentially burned when you were, kind of in your old days of whatever habits you may have had. But you're in a great place right now. How do you, and I struggle with it personally, maybe it's the anxiety or the introvert in me that, tends to look back on a lot of stupid things I did and with regret and all that. How have you been able to let go of some of the things that maybe you look back on and you regret and all that? You've got a great ability to look forward instead of look back. How have you gotten there, John?
I think it fits into the same thing that I do something on a daily basis, and just being transparent. I think that if you look at what we talked about, I think that all the things I didn't want to do are the reasons I'm successful. So that past is my pal.
Spend a lot of time in the Zen garden every morning.
That's part of the deal.
Yeah.
I'm 59 years old yesterday, and about 2 weeks, I'm 10 years old. So
Congratulations, John.
That is awesome. How's Team 10 doing down there?
They're good. They would be right behind me, but they had to eat. So they had lunch as well.
They had lunch as well at 8 a.m. I like
Keep
it.
winging your prayers. He had a little MRI yesterday or some kidney elevation, so we'll see. But great, doing great. And again, this is so cool. We go everywhere. We do everything together. And most people want to know where Team 10 is before they want to say hi to me, and that's cool. The membership has been great, and even the geese and them get along. They stay off the golf course. They stay alive. So,
Where does the name Team 10 come from?
Team 10, Millie's a little chunky and Wing is real skinny. So he's a 1, she's a 0.
Oh my gosh. That's excellent. Are they out there on the course with you every day working?
Every day. We go almost everywhere. A lot of times now with my new gig, guys will ask, so I'll have to work that in. One of my favorite people in the world is Pete Dye, and he was able to bring his dog everywhere, So if I can get an airplane and be able to bring my dogs everywhere, I'm in. I've made it. Onward and upward for the surf monkey.
To aspire to.
But sometimes I'll come in and someone will say, "Where's your dogs?" And so I say, "Well, I haven't taken that liberty just yet. Nothing like a dog at this time situation."
Oh, 100%, 100%, right? Yeah, someone starts yelling at you, say, "Oh, look at the dog." Yeah, okay. Oh, yeah, squirrel. Whatever. One of the things we talked a lot about, when I was down there, and one of the things we focused on in the video that we did together was recognizing and appreciating the people that helped you continue to move on. Talk about the people in your life that really helped you get to where you are today.
Yeah. Well, it starts with family. Again, I was a bad kid, a smart kid. I was very complex, and my parents had a rough go of it with me, but I was always able to get out of things because I was on the smart side and I had potential, and so but I had love. And then, life from being in high school and college was always very successful, and graduate school, but it just wasn't who I was at my inner core. And people, like Armin Suni, who gave me a job when I was 13, also has helped me many times. My brother-in-law, who owes me his whole life because he has my sister as his wife and mother of his children. He didn't give me an assistant superintendent job, but he gave me an opportunity to work for him. I actually at one point, we worked for Ron Jaworski, and he was great to me. He thought that I was a front of the house guy. What made him think that? I have no idea. But I got a chance to be a general manager. I got a chance to run a golf course in Delaware for him. And those are the types of things that when you get in a room, you sort of can tell what other people do. Yesterday, spending some time with a superintendent and his general manager was willing to be out on the golf course to see the process. I can draw on those types of situations. And this game, it's unbelievable, the relationships. I was telling a story. It was D-Day. My dad was in D-Day. And we went to the last Skins game at Bighorn. And my dad had MS, and he was a disabled vet. And he loved golf. And he would literally take his walker out there and hit chips in the front yard. And that kind of thing. And so I took him to Bighorn. We were inside the ropes. And I remember we were flying out there. And I was giving him a hard time. I said, Vin Scully is going to interview Vin Scully. And he obviously knew I was bullshitting him. And anyway, we get off the plane. We go into Bighorn. There's these big, giant doors. We go in. We're getting our credentials. We're going to have a golf cart be inside the ropes for the Skins game. And Vin Scully walks out of the bathroom. I mean, how is that? You can't make that stuff up, So he spent 20 minutes with my dad. It was so cool. And it, obviously it was just chatting away. But I guess he was the announcer. I mean, we had a hole in one. I had a hole in one in Mission Hills, and another guy that played with it. We played Bighorn the day after the Skins game. I mean, those are the things that happen in golf all the time. And if you're willing to. And the real reason I wanted to talk to you today is we don't need to be a big time superintendent to have a gig where we make money based on it. Anyone can do what I'm doing. Some of these high end guys are doing. I think that's the message, that we don't need to be afraid of what we generate. And some of what we generate is revenue. And why can't we do that for our families inside what we're doing for our members and guests?
John, do you have, as much as you travel, as many places as you've been, do you have a favorite place to visit? Do you have a favorite memory on a golf course?
Yeah, I'm one of those people that love the one you're with.
Yeah.
Whatever is going to happen next, trust me, hanging out in your backyard is way up there.
You don't want to hang out there right now, John. It's in bad shape, my friend. I need you to come up here and consult for me.
But I think that it's about the connections more than it is about I saw Golf Journal is at Crutch Island, right? And I almost didn't go to Crutch because it's a 9-hole course. And the Irish people, it's mighty, it's grand, John, you love it there. It's crushing it, you play it twice. And I'm thinking, I'm not going in a 9. I didn't know anything about it 15 years ago, whenever we were there. And it's one of those things, it's golf in the kingdom shit, right? It was magical time. We had every season of weather, and it's just something that I think about many times in a week after 11, 12 years ago, or that story, with my dad, or the opportunity to, put a truckster in the lake for Armin. These are all things that happen that I'm kind of probably a Philly guy. I love Philly golf. I don't think it gets enough credit, but Agronomy, just to let you know. To me. So, I guess if you push me down, home is where the heart is for me. I could play golf in the Philadelphia area or the Columbus area any day of the week. That trip to Muirfield last year was magic, man. We played some cool spots. We went to the golf club. We had lunch with the superintendent, and that's a top 2 or 3 locker room, the golf club. So it's just, I always hope for people, because I think I played golf with the guy that's social media guy. He's an ex-football player. He's a member here, Patrick Manley. And he was talking about Mark Capdevecchi had taken a dump on Pinehurst #2, right, on social media. And I didn't know. And I thought, good for him, right? He's allowed to say whatever he wants. That's where we need to be. It almost seems like there's these unwritten rules, just like in our industry, but now in engagement, that we have to be able to think a certain way, and I don't think you need to. I love Pinehurst #2. And the reason I love Pinehurst #2 is I built a course for Core and Crenshaw right before they went to Pinehurst. So when I go to #2, and that course didn't make it, and when I go to #2, I see Sugarloaf Mountain, and that's awesome. So I don't know what you asked me, but I said a lot of stuff.
It all made sense, John. It's fine.
Definitely well said. Yeah. Well, you're somebody that's done a lot in this industry. What would be kind of your next goal? Is there something on the list for you, something you're trying to attain?
Yeah, I think where I am right now, I would like to build on that. I really believe that based on data, we can give the golfer a better experience, the employee, the crew member a better experience, and we can have a better quality of life. So I think my thing is a little more esoteric, but if the ability to go anywhere and to do what I'm doing would be great. So to not just be confined. A lot of times people, I went to a really cool place just this past Monday, or maybe it was the end of last week. It's been a whirlwind for me. But anyway, the guy is a sort of a mentor for me, and it's this cool spot where Pete died at his last golf course. Fairways are pass pound, the tees are pass pound. There's a lot of other grasses on it, and I was working with the superintendent. He's like me at this place, and they also have a conservatory where there's all these animals from the African, animals that are in danger. It's just a really cool. And anyway, we were going out on the golf course, and he said, "Listen to this man." He told the superintendent, "He's the guru when it comes to pass back." So I think for me, when I look in the mirror, I don't see that. I see somebody that has a well-rounded understanding of what we do and where we should go with what we do. And I'd like to be an emissary for that, or an ambassador for that. I'm getting to go to the Olympics. We're going all electric here with Jacobson. So I'm going to be at the Olympics, another course that's all electric mowing equipment. So those types of things are things that I'm looking to the future for.
You're going to France for the Olympics?
I am. Me,
Nice.
and guess who else is going?
Oh,
Our boy Thomas Bastis.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We talked to him a couple of weeks ago. He said he's going to be out there for like a month or something. So
You guys will have fun out there.
I'm very excited about that. I mean, that's something we didn't even talk about. This place being all electric is just electric to me.
yeah.
It's something I would have never done, never thought about, didn't give it the time of day. And now I can't wait to show everybody that we're quiet, we're leaving a lesser footprint with a higher quality experience. So those are meaningful things. And to get to do one or two of those is pretty cool. To get to do that like all the time, super blessed.
Does that mean you guys are removing all of your pumps from your shop? So no more diesel, no more gas, like on site?
Right. Pretty big deal, man. Pretty big deal. And again, our industry's like, it'll never work. It's going to cost forever. You're going to burn your shop down. And, my thing is, it's not perfect. We haven't had the smoothest transition, but we're going to figure it out. And who better to get it figured out? That's how I feel. Bring it here, bro. Bring it here. I got you covered.
You're not afraid to tinker. So are you going over there in any sort of official capacity to the Olympics, or are you just kind of going to go and check everything out? Or
yeah, it's kind of an official thing. And they're bringing Angie, which is huge.
Yeah.
Angie needs to fly. And they were trying to wear me out about signing the docs and all that. And I didn't want to throw her under the bus. So it all worked out.
She's not going to be able to take the horses though over there.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
I'm sure you've got a good
one more hat change.
Take care of it.
Going down tobacco.
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
And I think one other thing, Adam, I am working with this guy, Toby Cobb, who worked for Porter Crenshaw for 20-some years. And so I have gotten an opportunity to be on the design side. So I would think that would be something that is of interest to me. I'm very, again, it's through the prism of golf is a certain way, and it doesn't have to be pigeonholed. But I also feel like golf's not played on a drone. It's played on the ground. And the visual nature of architecture has sort of, to me, gotten a little bit out of control. And I think people really don't want to hit balls off the dirt. They don't want to hit them off the shell. They want to hit it off grass. And they want to challenge, but they also want to enjoy the game. So I think Toby has a good sense and sensibility, and I'm really excited to be a part of that. We're moving some greens down. A lot of that old golf course, the links course, everything's perched up. They kind of built the course the way they built it in the 50s, and they built a lake, and then they perched up the greens. So we're moving some things and creating some interest. A lot of straight shots there. We're moving them side to side. So I think there's a lot that can be done just simply.
You need another person to be a part of your golf course design firm, let me know. It's always been my dream. So I'm right there with you, man.
Yeah, I think that we do need some fresh.
Need
And
another
you're
set
a
of
player.
eyes.
I'm a
Oh,
hack. I mean,
yeah,
that's why I
it's not
agree with you.
true. We both got smoked in the PB&J championship in Pinehurst by Phil Kafari. So
Bill is a player. I'll never forget this starter guy came riding over the hill. We played um, Southern Pines, and he was like so excited. And Phil was playing in front of him. He goes, "That guy just got home in two." And the only other person I've ever seen do that is Justin Rhodes. And that was pretty cool. So, and then we went to lunch, and I was thinking it, but I wasn't saying anything. And Phil, who's been on and around a lot of great golf, said, "Is that? Did I just play the best golf course in the world?" And I mean that's some heady stuff. And I was like, "You're exactly right. I mean, Southern Pines, go there and walk there. Please do not take a cart."
yeah, 100%. That is one of my favorite places. It's on my list every year to go down and play.
And it was
So
under construction,
yeah,
so visually it may not have been aesthetically the greatest looking place around it, but golf course, unbelievable.
it's so good. We're gonna have to meet
That
up back
area
down
is
there
so
again.
good too, right?
It's my favorite.
How good's that area?
I keep trying to convince Lauren to buy a house down there, but for some reason I haven't convinced her yet. We've got 8 more years to our last kids out of high school, so you better believe in 8 years I'm gonna be packing up the U-Haul and heading down that way. So
All right. I want to
yeah,
see that. I want to see
yeah,
what kind
man.
of cart you buy.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't think I'm home enough to buy a golf cart right now, so we'll figure that out down the road.
So Adam, what's your go-to place? Your golf.
Well, I haven't played a whole lot this year, but I was working at the Rivermead Golf Club up here in Ottawa. I like to play over there,
Right.
and then we have the Hunt Club here, which my good buddy Bobby Cook is he's taking over as superintendent there. So we've gotten out there a few times, but no, I was a hockey player, right? So I did play a little bit of golf when I was down south. There was a lot of golf down there, and that's where I really got a passion for it and really enjoyed it. We had a lot of free time as hockey players, so we'd go to the golf course and spend the whole day there and sometimes play 36 holes. And I really fell in love with the golf course the same way that I did the hockey rink. And I honestly feel like there's no better place physically or mentally for me and probably a lot of people listening than the golf course.
Yeah, the two more days is like our favorite day, the summer solstice. We used to try
Yeah.
to play 54 holes, you know. Back in the day, we packed our bags full of beer, try to make it all the way around. And we would play Cobb's Creek, which is a big renovation now that Gil
Oh
Hanson's
yeah.
doing. It was a William Flynn design, and then a couple other private public courses, and try to get 54 holes in. Those are some of the best days I can remember. Just
Just chasing the
walking the
sun.
fairways and chatting with your buds and
Have you
cracking
been
up.
have you been back up to Cobb's at all? Met with Ben at all and see what they're doing?
No, but I will definitely check that out.
We'll have
That's
to
one
do
of
that.
my whenever I see any posts from them, I always get excited. So
Yeah.
that's a big deal. I mean, I told somebody yesterday, you just didn't quite understand it. Like when we grew up, I worked at a private golf club, and I went to a Catholic high school. So, you know, other guys worked at other private clubs. So we could play Agronomy, Rolling Green, Marion, and then go to Cobb's Creek on the weekend and queue up and play probably the best of the four courses. Just wasn't maintained because it was public golf and just on the border of the suburbs in Philadelphia. You'd walk across the street, there was another 18 holes called Caricon. So it'll be interesting to see what they do with it. Just an amazing golf course. And I think in that area, creeks, or as we call them, cricks, have a lot to do with routing. And it's just a small body of water, but it plays a lot into the architecture and the strategy of golf hole. And Cobb's is what it's named for.
Yeah.
So the creek runs through there on many of the holes. Out here at Longboat, we have water a lot around and lakes, and There's something about a golf course that moves through a creek or a creek where you wash clothes with water.
In the water. Oh yeah, the Delco lingo, man. I love it.
That's it. Delco forever, baby. Delco next.
Well, we got a couple spots that we need to connect. That's certainly one of them. I forgot to tell you, I ran into John the other day. Valhalla, he was out there scouting out because I think they're hosting sometime in the next couple of years. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, cool place. Phil's hosting the U.S. Junior this year, so you got to come up there and come see Phil at Oakland Hills. Check his place out.
And there again, I mean, what a human being! That guy's unbelievable.
Yeah, right. There's so many good people in this industry, and you, my friend.
Thanks to you for the stories, because we get to hear the stories about the people that do what we do, and that was sorely missing until you were in this space.
Well, I appreciate that, and appreciate the special role that you played in the launch of this whole thing. So, and now we've got this podcast coming on with Adam and Turf Today. I mean, it's just there's so much in the future here for us. Just great things coming. So
hey Adam, check this out. I sent Brian a little note, and I said, when you get through with all the A-listers, I got something I want to talk about.
You are an A-lister, my friend. You're an A+ lister. There's no question about it. As a superintendent, as a human being, you are an A-lister for sure.
And speaking of A-listers, I have been waiting to ask this question the entire podcast, and I hope somebody else has picked up on this too. What is it like to share a name with a Hollywood celebrity?
I get that a lot. There's some guys in the Florida area that call me John C. And you can't really see, but when there's Bedhead, I got that. That picture they always have. I got.
That's funny.
I never really. It's not something I think about, but in my growing up, there was a guy that had the same middle initial as me, John F. Reilly. So we were always in the class together.
No way.
And he was like 6'6", and he's a district attorney or somebody, and I was this little, runt that was always getting in trouble. So I remember being in all kinds of trouble. My mom said, listen, if you don't run for student government, we're throwing you out, or whatever they would say when I was a kid. So I didn't just do that. I ran for president of my class. And thanks to him, like, no one knew who they were voting for. So I ended up being the president of my high school.
Little did they know, huh?
They had to separate us at the end. I won outright, clean. In the beginning, they weren't sure who won the initial, deal, because we both had the same names.
That's great.
I don't keep in that good a touch with him. John C. Reilly, I definitely get that reference quite often.
That's great. We're gonna have to make some sort of graphic here for you with that, using that meme for sure. So anytime you post any of your stats in the morning, when you're doing your sticky 14 or anything you're doing these days, you got to start using that thing and put some fun over. I'm sure someone on staff there can do that for you.
You know me well.
I know you. I know you.
I had to get Super Steve to get me set up for the podcast.
I saw him in the background when we got started. So look,
hey,
that's okay.
Have people.
That's okay. That's right. Surround yourself by smarter people. That's how it always works, man.
It is.
Absolutely. Well, hey man, it has been an absolute pleasure to sit on here and chat with you again. It's always a privilege to be able to see you and talk to you. So greatly appreciate your time this morning. And I got to pack up and head to Baltimore here shortly. But again, thank you so much, John. Appreciate all your time.
Good to meet you, Adam. Good to see you, BL.
Yeah, buddy.
We will cross soon.
Very soon. You better believe I'm going to be down in Florida again sometime this winter. So.
Well, it was great to meet you, John. Really appreciate you coming on today. This is going to be a good one.
Nice to meet you too, Adam. Good luck with everything.
All right, buddy.
Stay grassy, man. Stay grassy.
Stay grassy. The best departure we've had from this so far has been Mike Rollins. He just closed the laptop. I don't know if you're working on a laptop or not.
I'm good, but I got plenty to do, so I'm going to split.
All right, kiddo. We'll see you,
All right, guys. Take journey.
Take care, buddy.
See you, Adam. Nice to meet you.
See you.
Bye.
There you go. He just walked away from the computer. That works too.
That's it. That's another good mic drop. I love it. I love it. Super Steve's going to come in here and close them out here shortly.
There you go.
Either that or Rebecca. One of them will come in here and close the screen. But one of the greatest people.
Yeah,
We've
that was
got
fantastic.
Such an industry full of so many good people. So it's always fun catching up with John.
Okay, beautiful.
Cool. All right, man. Be good.
Everybody, safe travels.
Thank you. We'll see you.
And thank you all, as always, for stopping in. It's been a pleasure these last few weeks, or number of weeks, I should say. It's been flying by to be working with Brian and the Superintendent Network. We continue to grow as we look at our numbers. This is something that continues to keep moving up the charts, and our numbers keep going up, which is fantastic, and we appreciate everything. This is all for you guys, and it's only growing because of you. So keep doing what you can to share this with your friends and anybody else in the industry that you know. A lot of different stories out there, and a bunch of different characters that we are bringing to life, and I think there's a lot of different people that can benefit from learning the stories and some of the great things that go on the golf course. So we appreciate everything you guys are doing. We cannot say it enough. If there's anything we can do for you, please reach out to us. We are here for you. We are here to help. We are really enjoying doing what we can for this industry because it is one of those little gifts out there that people just don't know are there. And we are very fortunate to be the ones that have been able to open those packages. Keep those reels sharp. We'll see you guys next week. Get another good one.